Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe the copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107.
All right, yo, what's going on, y'all? So here we are back at MBS TV headquarters, right? I'm just going to be doing a quick dive in on this ignorant statement that Lou Williams and this nigga, No Chill Gil, a.k.a. Gilbert Arenas, was talking about dropping LeBron James in the 70s and he'd win 15 championships in a row, which is just an ignorant statement. It'll just be a completely, it's just a completely idiotic and ignorant statement. And let's just go ahead and break down what they're talking about real quick.
I'm starting to hate everyone in the 90s that played basketball, that whole group, because they just think they shit don't stink.
Right.
Now, real quick, this is true. A lot of the players in the 90s do think that their shit don't stink, and a lot of people start to overrate the era of basketball that was in the 90s. All right, which is what they consider the golden era of basketball, you know, but still. Not everybody in that era was the greatest players of all time. You know, a lot of people got an issue with, you know, what I say about Kobe Bryant. You know, if you ask me, Kobe Bryant is not a top 10, top 5, top 3 player in NBA history, if you ask me personally. You know, but because he came from that, because he was cut from that cloth and he was drafted in that era, right, which was in the late 90s. But when he was drafted to the Lakers, and Michael Jordan left, he pretty much reciprocated a lot of the energy from Michael Jordan because he was the replacement of Michael Jordan, and he copied Michael Jordan so much. He made such an attempt to copy Michael Jordan that people really thought that he was the next closest thing to Michael Jordan, and he really wasn't. He really wasn't, you know, in terms of greatness at least. But let's keep going into what they say.
Like, you know, you got, you know, Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, both 6'7", both weigh 210. Talking about they're going to stop somebody in today's game. Like,
Nah.
6'7", 210, like, you are a little guard in today's game. You guys...
Now, what the hell is he talking about? You're telling me, so Gilbert Arenas, you're telling me that Klay Thompson is a little man in today's NBA? What the fuck are you talking about? You're telling me that Kawhi Leonard is a little man in today's NBA? Like, are you fucking kidding me? And the thing is, Scottie Pippen is a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He did that back-to-back with the Pistons. All right? Dennis Rodman, if I'm not mistaken. Did I say Dennis Rodman? Yeah, Dennis Rodman won. He's a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year back-to-back when he won with the Pistons. And they won back-to-back championships with the Pistons, if I'm not mistaken. I think he won Defensive Player of the Year both of those years. And Scottie Pippen was an elite-level wing defender. So what are you talking about? Scottie Pippen was not a little guy. He was not a small guy. Once again, you guys, a lot of people always try to give Scottie Pippen this credit with this narrative that they push, saying that Scottie Pippen picked up Magic Johnson the entire floor after Game 1, and he didn't do that all series long. A lot of the times it was Michael Jordan also guarding Scottie Pippen. I'm also going to do a video on that too, where we look at the numbers and the efficiency according to how Michael Jordan guarded Magic Johnson and Scottie Pippen guarded Magic Johnson. Michael Jordan was a better defender than Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen would always take the tough assignment, the tougher defensive assignment, because they were expecting Michael Jordan to drop 30, even in the playoffs, 35 for sure. Anywhere from 35 to 40 a game in the playoffs. So if you have Michael Jordan going all out playing defense against the best player and expecting him to drop 45, you're going to have, he's going to be, extremely tired. And that's, that's going to put a lot more, not tread on your miles, but, you're going to have to work a lot more harder. That's why you see certain things when LeBron James and the Cavaliers were playing against the Warriors. They were making an asserted attempt to make sure that they bring Steph Curry out, and they just call picks until they can get a switch on Steph Curry and attack Steph Curry because he's going to be their leading scorer. You also saw it last season when Kawhi Leonard started to pick up Donovan Mitchell and Lucy Doncic. Or Lucy Doncic, however the hell you pronounce his last name. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to him, but Lucy Doncic, he was killing the Clippers last season in the playoffs. All right, and Luka Doncic is what 6'11". Magic Johnson was what 6'9", 6'10". So and once again, look at Klay Thompson, who did a great job guarding LeBron James when they matched up. Look at Andre Iguodala, who's not 6'9". So, what are you talking about? You know, it's saying that the guys in today, if you're a 6-man, you're little guys. No, the fuck you're not. That's ridiculous. Steph Curry is a little guy. Kyle Lowry is a little guy. Isaiah Thomas is a little guy.
The little guys.
But that's every 10 years the game
Yeah,
changes.
that's what I said. They have no idea
Now,
about ever.
real quick, that's true. That's true. Every 10 years or so, the game does change because when you look at, Michael Jordan, the game was dominated by big men, which is why Michael Jordan gets a lot of credit for being known around the worldwide, for being the greatest player of all time because he was able to do so without having a dominant big man. And people forget. He had Dennis Rodman. What are you talking about? Yeah, but then he had a three-peat. He three-peated before they even had Dennis Rodman. And Dennis Rodman was, 34? When he teamed up with Michael Jordan, 35 when they teamed up with Michael Jordan, when he teamed up with Michael Jordan in the Bulls. So he wasn't even the same player. He brought a lot of things still to the game. But that's when you had the Kobe Bryants and the Tracy McGrady's and the Vince Carters, the Paul Pierces coming to the NBA. If you actually know the history of the NBA, that's when these guys started to come in, right after Michael Jordan did what he did. And you can even look at the numbers. A lot of people were shooting terribly because it was a lot of hero ball. But once again, the people who were winning championships were big men. It started to go back to the way that the game was played. But Michael Jordan is the one who helped change that and implement that. You even before that, right, you had, if I'm not mistaken, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, where they made goaltending and if I'm not mistaken, they made the lane more narrow so it'd be harder to catch lob passes pretty much for alley-oops for easy 2 points. They changed the game. There's always going to be, things that change the game. So that's true every 10 years or so, just about, because after a little bit while after that, you said you had Larry Bird and Magic Johnson got drafted in 79. Which was the era of ball movement for the most part, and not just getting sets for your big man in the paint, because Magic Johnson was able to move the ball and they ran the floor. Same thing with Larry Bird, but they had to go up against the 76ers and Moses Malone and Dr. J and those guys, so it wasn't easy when they came in. But even then in 85, which was after 5-10 seasons or so, in the 90s, in the late 90s, you had the hero ball in the early 2000s. So that's true. About every 10 years or so, there is a change that comes. And then once again, you also had afterwards, you had the hand check, the removal of the hand check, which, just allows a face-up game a lot more. And then you had Shaq come into the league also, too, where they implemented the 3-second rule. You can't just sit there in the paint, if I'm not mistaken. Right, and then what happened? Then we had Steph Curry now, where everything is a 3-point shooting league. With Steph Curry now and the Warriors, they made the NBA adjust the way, the other teams adjust the game style that they've played to shooting threes now. That's why every single team is shooting threes and either dunks or layups. Only truly the elite players, the elite of the elite players, are actually really shooting the mid range. You have Kawhi Leonard, DeMar DeRozan is an elite mid range player. The Kevin Durant, great post player. Kyrie Irving. You got Paul George. Even Lucas sometimes be working out the mid range. But this provides spacing for the floor regardless. So that's true. That's definitely true, Lou Williams. And when Gilbert Arenas says that they have no idea about evolution, that's fucking ridiculous. I think you guys overrate. Not even overrate. I think you guys don't really take into account the players that were alive back in the 70s. I don't think you guys take into consideration or even have knowledge of the players that were alive back in the 70s that dominated in the 70s. You had fucking George Gervin, John Havlicek, once again, Magic, and Larry Bird was drafted in 79. You had Moses Malone. You had the Iceman, You understand? If I'm not mistaken, did I say John Havlicek already? I think Jerry West was still playing around that time, and John Havlicek was what a all time. I think he's one of the only players that's 8-0 in the finals. You know, but also too when you look at that era back then, you had Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. When you look at the 80s and the 90s, you had Magic Johnson. Even the 70s, you had Magic Johnson who came in. Once again, the Iceman. You had Oscar Robertson. You had Shaquille O'Neal. You had Michael Jordan, who was a freak of nature. You had Charles Barkley, who was a freak of nature. He was 6'6". Charles Barkley was 6'6", and it came out that he had one of the greatest, not just physiques, but, when it came down to what he was able to do physically, he was one of the most physically talented basketball players to ever walk the NBA. Same thing with Dennis Rodman. They said Dennis Rodman John Sally said that Dennis Rodman could have been a decathlete, decathlete. He could have ran track for the Olympics. That's what he said. Wilt Chamberlain, if I'm not mistaken, Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest athlete of all time. Bill Russell is one of the greatest athletes of all time. But getting back even to Wilt Chamberlain, bro, he ran like a 49-second 400 dash in track or something like that, and then he did the 800 in like a minute and like 38 seconds or something like that. There was a story that he even outlifted Arnold Schwarzenegger. So when you guys talk about evolution, the evolution of today really came about in the late 90s when Michael Jordan and the Bulls and those guys started to work out and lift weights. In the 70s and 80s, for the most part, in the 60s, they didn't lift weights, bro. They didn't have sports science. They didn't have a lot of the high, the high level sports regimes and, the high level workouts. And once again, when it comes to the sports science now, and you have people who are on certain diets, and not even talking about the PEDs and, the steroids and the hormone growth enhancers. So the only thing now, you just see it more spread out now. But you had athletes that were all-time great in every single era. So this evolution thing, people were just trying to make, LeBron James, or they're trying to make LeBron James and certain other people better, by pushing this certain narrative, right? If you really understand the history of the game of basketball, right, you can knock this shit down easily. Once again, Dennis Rodman is one of the greatest athletes of all time, but Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest athlete of all time, especially when it comes to sports. He did everything, track and field. He played professional volleyball. Magic Johnson, it was a story that came out, and Magic Johnson said when Wilt, if I'm not mistaken, was still in his late 50s. He was in his late 50s. They played a pickup game, basketball, and he was playing, of course. And if I'm not mistaken, he blocked Wilt's shot or something like that. Or he did something. He trash talked Wilt, right? And Wilt started guarding Magic Johnson. And Magic didn't score again. And he blocked every single shot afterwards. Y'all can look that up. So, and that was in his late 50s. So, I don't know what these niggas are talking about.
It's like they don't take evolution. I
always have these debates with my friends. I was like, bro, can you imagine dropping LeBron in the 75? Like, just drop LeBron now that in 75. I was like, bro, he won 15 championships in a row.
Well, that's funny because even Bill Russell isn't regarded as the greatest athlete of all time. Even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't do that in the 70s. Well, did he even play in the 70s? I know Wilt Chamberlain didn't even do that. And that was in the 60s when it was only, 8 to 9 teams in the NBA? So what are you talking about? Bill Russell didn't even do that. And once again, I think you guys are underrating a lot of the athletes and players that came by in the NBA. Just because we see a lot of the high flyers, the Russell Westbrooks and the LeBron James and things, the LeBron Jameses and things of that nature, I think we get caught up in thinking that, well, damn, look at these numbers and look how physically great. Well, they had to have been better than other people. No. They were great athletes in every single era. And to say that this man won 15 championships is like, bro, there was no free agency in the 70s. LeBron has never won the championship with the decks that with the cards that was given him. He had to trade his cards and then leave his team and go to another team and trade their deck of cards to be able to get other pieces that fit him for him to win. And he's only won back-to-back one time. It's not like LeBron James is what, 6-4 in the finals? He's 4-6. So for people to even say shit like this is completely ridiculous.
Dropping Superman.
And these are guys who played in the NBA.
Yeah, that's what I said. And they
like,
sit there and
you
say,
take the worst player that you could think of in your head in the NBA and put him on 68.
Take the worst player, take the best player in today's NBA and put him in 68. They didn't have once again the free agency. The Bill Russell Celtics, they won 11 championships in the 60s. So are you sure? Because they would have been going up against Bill Russell and Jerry West, depending on what side that they played in, the West or the East. And also, too, if I'm not mistaken, that's when I don't even think the NBA was really fully together. It was still the ABA and the NBA, if I'm not mistaken. Then they merged together, and I think was it 68 that they merged? But anyway.
So it's like they forget evolution. So they're like, well, this.
No, we don't forget evolution. I think you guys just overrate the generation that's going on today, so you guys can push certain narratives and agendas. You know, to kind of make yourself feel better, because no one has surpassed the Bill Russell or the Michael Jordan. The only person who's got close to even doing what Michael Jordan did was Tim Duncan, and the only spot on his resume is him folding in what was it, Game 6 against the Heat in the 2013 finals.
This game's soft. They flop.
The game is soft, and he also ended up to go to say flopping is a skill, which is just fucking ridiculous. But that's all we got here, man. That's all we got here. You know, appreciate y'all for watching. Y'all stay tuned. Peace. I'm out.